don't know when it just kind of took off. It just started gaining momentum. My first blue check mark that followed me, though, was Cousin Eddie. So it's all, you can't lose when Cousin Eddie's your first blue check mark that follows you.
Yes, that's amazing. And then
Randy Quay.
Really? Oh my gosh! So who are some of your most prominent blue check followers?
Who follows me?
Who are some of your most prominent blue check followers? Yeah.
Tom Fitton and Don Jr.
Nice.
James Woods.
You got
Jenna Ellis.
Oh. Yeah. Oh yes. Don't put me in the blue check category. That's almost a negative. But thanks. Yeah. But so when you talk about all of the things and the culture and the commentary, I think what a lot of people like about you and why I retweet you so often is because you're willing to stand up and say things and call things how they are, and to just cut through all of the mess of the liberal ideology and just stand up for the truth. And so, so what kind of is the mindset, I guess, behind this?
I don't know. I've been into. I was a musician most of my life. People don't know that. I was a singer and a songwriter and a guitarist. And when you're a musician, 30, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, you have to learn to do something like build decks or something because you don't make any money. So. It was early 90s, and we used to sit up and do construction, and I started listening to Rush Limbaugh, and that's when I started getting into politics real big. So I'm a Rush baby.
That's great. So many of us are.
Yeah, and so I've been into politics, and I don't know, I'm just a simple old country boy, and I just kind of say it like it is, and I like to throw, you have to keep your fun in this. Liberals like to suck the fun out of everything. So you got to make it funny. You got to still, nothing makes them more mad than if you're having fun and you don't take them seriously.
Yes.
They hate that.
Absolutely. And I think that that's one of the great ways that President Trump and all of the social media, even the clip that we played, I loved that our friend Il Donato Trumpo gave that clip. It was very sweet of him to create that just for this show for us. And, to show that President Trump loves having fun. Dancing to YMCA, coming out at the rallies, and just laughing. he's actually one of the funniest people with the best sense of humor that I've ever met. And you're right. Liberals can't stand that because they live in this universe that is so dictated by hate, that's so dictated by negativity, and they claim to be the most tolerant people in the world, yet they're the ones who have fear around every corner, like with the coronavirus. You've been a prolific tweeter on calling out the ridiculousness of Dr. Fauci and masks and all of that. So, talk about your perspective on Fauci and the coronavirus.
I was one of the only ones on Twitter. There was a bunch of conservatives too at the time saying, let's just do 15 days. It needs to be done. I was emphatic about we cannot ever shut this down for 15 days. You cannot give these people power over yourself, like that. So I was very unpopular there for 2 or 3 weeks when I said, no, do not give power to these people and these governors and these Democrats, because they're never going to want to give it back. You just can't. You can't give your freedoms up like that. And I live in Florida, and we have a. Yeah. Do you live in Florida too? I don't even know.
No, I'm here in D.C., but my home state's Colorado. Oh. So I have a very interesting governor. I know. Oh, I know. At least it's not my home non-state, and D.C. is going to stay a non-state. But Colorado politics, for everybody watching, is very interesting because Jared Polis is actually, I think, for being a Democrat, a very decent governor, and it's because at heart he's a capitalist, and that's really interesting for being a Democrat. And we can get into that. But your state governor, Ron DeSantis, everyone is such a fan.
Yeah, if you don't know too, that I've been living in the state for a long time. And I've seen the governors come and go here, and I've never seen one that's more amazing than him. And I live in North Florida in a small town, and it's really been like the coronavirus don't even exist here. Nobody wears masks. I don't even own a mask. I've never worn a mask.
Wow.
And everybody kind of just lives normal life here. Everybody just ignores it. And the hospitals aren't full, and all the lies they try to tell about Florida. But if we've learned anything, in the past year, a year and a half, is how important it is to what governor you have. I mean, that to me, that was just, even though I was political, for years, you got a good governor, bad governor, whatever. It was no big deal. It was all about the president. But it's just as important who you have for governor right now than it is for president.
Absolutely. And I think one of you're right, one of the main civics lessons that we've all learned about the brilliance of federalism, and we've seen how differently the states have responded depending on whether there's a conservative versus a progressive governor, and how that has really differentiated the states. And so speaking of Florida and Governor DeSantis, one of the things that I tweeted out was asking, who should be the running mate when President Trump announces, I believe he will, of his run for a second term. And I said, hey, what about DeSantis? And you were very emphatic, don't steal my governor. So what's your...
Hello?
Yeah, so what's behind that?
I lost you for a minute.
Yeah, no worries. These phoners sometimes, and I'm sure with the pause, it's all difficult, so.
Okay, here's the deal with DeSantis. You can have him for president, but you can't have him for vice president. I'm not going to allow it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're willing. Okay. So if he's president, you're willing for the good of the country.
Yeah. But not vice president.
Okay. Okay. Well, so who then is kind of in the Florida landscape? Who do you see as kind of waiting in the wings to come after DeSantis, if and when he does run for president or vice president? Is there a good climate there? It's like trying to replace Trump. There is no replacement. You know what I mean? It'd be the same thing as saying, how do we replace Trump as president? You can't. And I'm hoping, and I want Trump to run, period. I want Trump to run, and I want him to win back the White House. But I just don't want then after he wins for his last term, then I want DeSantis to run for president. Yeah.
But I just, we need him here. We had, you're talking about all this election fraud and all this election shenanigans going on. He did. I mean, we had Rick Scott before him. He didn't do nothing. He just kept. We had the biggest cheating zone in the world in Broward County, Florida. Everybody knew it in the United States. Brenda Snipes was there. And I don't care what election we had, if a Republican was winning, they would count in that county for a month. I mean, this has been going on for 20 years here. And so they would count. I mean, Ron DeSantis won by like 130,000 votes on election night, and they just kept counting in Broward County and kept counting. It got to 100, then 80, then 60, then 55. 4 weeks later, we're going, man, what are they doing?
Yeah, this is nothing new. And, we're going to have to take a break right here, but we will be back to talk more with Catturd, my good friend, here on Just the Truth.
Real America's Voice is a platform that fosters the real voice of America.
God bless America. Thank you.
Back to Just the Truth and to Catturd, who is a prolific social influencer on Twitter. And if you are not following him, listening to his podcast, you really should, because like every great American, just speaking truth, speaking boldly and courageously how it is, that's how we disrupt the liberal narrative. And that's how we get out the truth. And we need to make sure that our voices are heard, not just through our vote, but also to make sure that we are continuing to influence and be leaders to make sure that we are paving the way so that other people know, hey, it is okay for me to also stand up and speak boldly with the truth. So, Catturd, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, this is great. And it was great this came about because I think you messaged me the other day like, hey, when am I going to get the invite? And I thought, oh my gosh, I have finally landed the interview, and Catturd is asking to come on the show. So
the biggest interview of your life.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I told you, you don't see any of the other networks that have the exclusive with Catturd. So I feel very special that you are joining us tonight and giving all of us here at Just the Truth this opportunity. And I want to ask you about the future of the GOP. I mean, we were talking in the last segment about Florida, the landscape there, why Ron DeSantis has been such an effective governor. I mean, he stands for truth and principled American values. And so as we look at kind of what I think the mainstream media is accurately describing as a split in the GOP. You have the old establishment people like Liz Cheney. You just have, the beef with Trump. You have the rhinos who really are liberals. They're not conservatives. But then you have this huge majority of MAGA, America First, Trump supporters that genuinely understand what it is that we're preserving. So where do you see the future of the GOP?
Well, this has been a hard one for me because I've always supported Republicans and I've always tried to change them from within. And I was edging on third party time, although I know a third party can't get anywhere. I know the old arguments, but I am so tired of voting these people in. And then just the first day, it's just like day one. But I remember we have Marco Rubio here, and he got swept in on the Tea Party wave. Here in Florida, and he was going to be, like a Donald Trump. He was going to be this and that. And then the first week he sold out and supported amnesty.
Wow.
And you just get tired. You just get tired of it. And at some point, I just know this personally. I'm not voting for any other Republican unless they get on, our wavelength of America First, fight, and if they'll just stop being cowards and spineless. Look what we'll go back to Ron DeSantis. What he's done to this state in 2 years is remarkable. I mean, he's cleaned out. The first thing he did is went down to Broward County, fired everybody. And everybody started. Here comes the liberal press piling on. But does he care? No. I'm gonna fire everybody. He goes in there and clean house. And then, I mean, he is also. He has put in the most stringent election laws in any state right now. I mean, there's no more ballot harvesting. There's no more mail-in voting. There's no more anything in the state. And it's just, and you see how they attack him, but he just keeps going. And if we could just imagine having 46 senators like him and 200 and something House members like him. I mean, we'd be unstoppable, but they're so weak. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, when we look back to our founders, I mean, they were a very small group of patriots, but they were all firmly committed, and they literally pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor on recognition of principles first and making sure that the then government that was invading and infringing upon their liberties and freedoms would not prevail, and that they said, we appeal to a higher power than that. We appeal to a higher law and a divine lawgiver. And they were resolute in their firm reliance on divine providence. And I love seeing people like Ron DeSantis and President Trump who are willing to stand firm and say, it doesn't matter what anybody's saying that's false about me. I'm going to stand up for truth anyway. And I think you're absolutely right that if we had more of those types of statesmen instead of politicians, we would be unstoppable. And do you see any others that are of kind of that same ilk in Congress or among the state governors? So like Kristi Noem, for example, I was really excited about her when I was there at Mount Rushmore and heard her speech that was very much on the founding principles, but then she's kind of been wishy-washy on some of the other issues.
She blew it. It was on the transgender rule, and then she's like, "Well, the lawyers say this." That's not how you do it. That's not how Democrats fight. It's principle. You don't veto that. You sign it, and that's it. And then since then, 20,000 other states have signed the same thing. Republicans. Now she looks foolish, but you just cannot be weak like that, even for a second. You have to stand firm and realize that, these people play for keeps. These liberals, they're brutal.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is something where you always have to do the right thing. And she should have just said, "Fine, I'll see you in court," and defend that, especially when it was model legislation. Yeah, I mean, what's she so afraid of?
It's going to be in court anyway. That's it. You sign it, don't sign it. It's going to be in court anyway. So what's your point? I mean.
Right.
I don't know. And look how fast everybody kind of dropped her, because and everybody just takes this big sigh and says, "Here we go again with another one." Mm-hmm. And it just, we're tired of it. Just do what you say you're going to do. Like you talking about the founding fathers, they had their lives and their families' lives. They could have been shot and killed and hung and tortured and killed, and now we got Republicans that are scared to be called racist by Rachel Maddow.
Right. It's like, if that's the worst thing that happens to you, actually wear that with a badge of pride and say, wow, some liberal idiot is calling me a fake name. I don't care. I'm going to move forward. And, we live in such a culture of pansies, and in a culture of cowards, that the worst thing is words being such an offense. And I think it's terrible. But I also think that, like you, and like me, there are millions of Americans who are tired of it. And I think we are seeing kind of a resurgence of the courageous America that says, no, we're willing to stand firm on principles of liberty.
Yeah, and if you're gonna get out there and like me and you, I mean, I get, how many times you get cussed out and called evil and every name in the book every day? I do too. I mean, it's part of it. You just got to stand strong. If you're going to get out there, you're going to get attacked. So just don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're not regretting or ruining the day that you decided, hey, I'm going to open up a social media account as Catturd. So, I mean, are you enjoying the prolific social media influence and a way to actually influence the conversation?
Oh yes, I love it. I'm someone who in real life laughs and jokes, and the people I hang around, we all just do nothing but laugh and joke and have fun. And that's what I've been trying to tell everybody. Just don't let the liberals suck the joy out of your life. They're joyless, they're miserable, and they want you to be joyless and miserable too. So just have fun. And Joe Biden's in there now, but we can still have fun. We can still fight in our own way. And everybody has their own way to fight. I do it through humor and through this and that, and other people do it different ways, but you need every tool in the toolbox to fight this, Mm-hmm. So just whatever you bring to the table, bring it, but get in the game.
Yes, that's really wise words. And, and you have a podcast now that is, one of the most listened to. And, talk a little bit about what inspired that and what topics you cover.
Well, my podcast is on Patriots in Tune, and we're on different venues of things all the time, because YouTube wants to ban us, you can't say anything on YouTube anymore. So we skip around a little bit on Rumble and everything we can get on. But yeah, I was a guest host on Patriots in Tune with Jules and Toots. That's their name. One's from California, one's a New York guy, and I'm kind of a redneck here in North Florida. So we just had fun, the show I done, and we just have a good rapport between us three. And we just have fun. I don't know what we're going to talk about every week. They plan the show out. It's every Wednesday from 1 o'clock Eastern to 2 o'clock, and now we're adding another hour, so it's going to be from 12 noon to 2 o'clock every Wednesday.
That's great. And, I love it because, like my hometown crew, I started my media venture, I guess, just after I wrote my book, and I was invited onto a local radio station with two, the greatest guys, greatest patriots who, own their own businesses. They're talking about good traditional American values, family, faith, freedom. And we just talked, and they said, this is a really great book. Why don't you come back and talk about the law more? And, that started kind of the same thing, just my willingness to come on and to talk about things with a community of patriots and of people who genuinely love America. And I think that's what people love so much about those kind of alternative sites, because the mainstream media is just so boring, so elitist. They don't cover the things. Yeah. So for people like you who are patriots, I really appreciate your voice so much, and so thank you so much. Yeah, for being who you are, and definitely for continuing your voice. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. This has been great. Well, that is Catturd, my good friend. Definitely follow him on Twitter and listen to the radio show. And always remember that you too have a voice, whether it's social media, whether it's just your sphere of influence, whether it's your family dinner table. Make sure that you are boldly, courageously speaking truth wherever you're at. We're going to be right back with more.